right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in with Thick Chicks with a Thought. I am your host, Sheila Bourne Joseph, and with me, I have some returning co-hosts, and you might have known them from the woman down below. Her name is Irina, and she was one of my co-hosts for My Woman of Color, which is on YouTube. You can please look at some past posts that I've had, and the woman to my left is a woman named by the name of Suzanne that came on my first podcast when I first launched this Thick Chicks with a Thought. So Suzanne and Irina, welcome.
Thank you.
I also just to mention is Suzanne was on Does Pimping Still Exist? That was one of my first podcasts that I had, and Irina again was on My Woman of Color, my Color of Armenia. That's what I think I called it, My Woman of Color of Armenia. So, and that was a series of one woman of color that I wanted to talk to and have the world know who are in my life. Isn't that special? That's special. Okay. So in today's podcast topic, we are going to talk about things that has been happening over the centuries, like way back. And the topic is side chicks or side dudes or side pieces, side jobs, side whatever. And we're just going to just kind of wing it and just see how you guys feel and what are your thoughts on it and how yeah, I guess your opinions is bring some enlightenment to all these individuals out here, right? Okay, so ladies, so tell me, what is your definition of a side piece?
My definition of side piece is somebody who likes to have a relationship or relations with somebody that's already in a committed relationship with somebody else. So they want to have the benefits of, having in the case of man, woman, let's say that the man is married, him paying for her bills and treating her and, spoiling her without having her being in a full committed relationship with him in that way. I think that it happens because it's a little bit of an excitement that happens. It's like, you're not supposed to do it. So it's like forbidden. And so
it's kind of like taboo.
Right, taboo. And so I think that's that thing that damn well you're not supposed to be doing, but you do it anyways. And it's fun. And as long as you don't get caught, what's the problem? And so I think there's a lot of side pieces, side chicks, side dudes, whatever you want to call it. On the side, there's benefits to it. So there's benefits, there's pros and cons to it, of course. But
and what's your definition, Irina?
I think Suzanne has covered them all.
She's covered them all. She's trying to be really well respected in the Armenian community.
Oh, she covered it all.
Well,
it's a mistress or a miss.
A Mr. or Mistress. Mistress. Yeah. Okay. So what would make? Okay, let's start with this. So what are you guys are in a committed relationship?
Yep.
Okay. And may I ask for how long?
I'm going on 2 years.
Irina?
Almost 10.
Okay. Now, how would you guys rate your communication style? You being in such a brand new, a tender age of 2 years relationship, and Irina, you being in a 10-year relationship. How would you guys rate your communication?
I think that our communication is 9.5. We're open and honest, and we are transparent. Even if I know for me, I want to express and I get nervous at times in saying certain things, but he's always open and willing for me he's like, just say it so we can talk about it. So he's good about that. So.
Okay. Now with you having such an open communication, have you in past relationships, have you ever had a side piece?
No.
While you were in a relationship?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess we just lost Irina, which is fine. She got to handle her business. So you would never had a side piece. Were you ever a side piece?
No, never.
No, that you
Oh, not in my marriage. Before, when I was younger, I was a side piece. Yes.
well, that's what I was asking.
That's what I just clarified, ma'am. Continue. We're limited on
And
time.
you were a side piece. Okay. Now be when you were younger, not when you were married. We
Right.
understand.
Clear that up.
So now how did that make you feel?
At the time, I didn't know what I was doing 'cause I was so young. I was in my teens.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know I didn't know what to expect. I just kind of went with the flow.
Okay.
But fast forward, yeah, no.
Fast forward what?
Fast forward to do that now, it's not my style, it's not my thing. But I've before I met my boyfriend, I remember talking to one dude and we're good, and he was just like, "Oh, I'm divorced." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then come to find out he was separated. I was like, that's kind of weird. And then you find out that, oh, we're living together. I was like, dude, just say that I'm the side piece. Just tell me that I'm the side piece. And that made me feel some kind of way, because here this person was just like, "Oh, I want to have a relationship with you," and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but your situation at home is not right. You just bought a house, but you're telling me that your supposed estranged or ex-wife is moving into the house with you. Sure, I'm not trying to get my ass beat. So we're gonna end this right now, because I did not sign up to be the side piece. And he was not happy, so we didn't talk for a while, and then he cropped up again. "Hey, how you doing? I want to hang out. I want to see you." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm all set. I have a boyfriend." And he was upset because of the way that I dismissed him. And he was
Mm-hmm.
like, "You should make time for me." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I don't want to make time for
I
you."
think you touched his ego.
Yeah, because he was just like, "You made time for me, and now when I want to be with you," and he was like, "Here's my, these are my hours, and this is when I can see you." I'm like, "That's great, but I have meetings. I gotta work." And
Wow.
he's just like, "Oh, so now you're not gonna make time for me?" I'm like, "I'm not moving any shit for you. It's not
Right.
worth it." So
I understand. Now, Irina, what I was asking Susie was just that have you in your past relationship, obviously not now, but if you want to express that you are a side piece now, that's just totally no judgment here, the judge-free zone. But in the past, have you ever had a side piece while you were dating?
No.
Hmm?
I was
The
dating.
lies, look at the lies. She can't even, her eyes are twitching like this.
No,
No, I never had one.
I was dating more than one person.
Well, no, not date more than one person. Would you call it?
When you're dating,
no, you can't. No, if you're dating more than one person,
You're not considered a side piece.
you're not a side piece. You're just looking at your options, because you're supposed to have three people. Well, never mind.
You're not supposed to have three people. Slow
No,
down.
listen. You're supposed to have the main if you're dating. If you're supposed to have the main, the number two should be chit-chatting really good. You know them pretty good. And number three, you're just learning about them. So when number one messes up, number two becomes number one, number three becomes number two, and then now you have to look out and see who
you
can.
have a system. Okay.
Well, I don't know about that system, because then how can you
Works
be?
for her, it works for her.
I understand that, but this is what I'm saying. I said, how can you, if when you're dating, you're just not exclusive to anybody. So there should,
Why would you limit yourself?
when you're dating,
Why would you limit yourself? Like there are guys. So when I've dated, I remember one dude I was talking to, and it was only the third day in, and he asked, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm going out on a date." He was just like, "Oh, why would you be going out on a date? You're supposed to be only talking to me." I was like, "Who are you? You're not the only option. I need to see my options. Shoot, I might be talking to you, meet up with you, and like we've all had a situation where you can talk to somebody on the phone for like a week or two or whatever, and you feel like you want to meet them, and you meet them, and you're like, the vibe and energy is off. You're like, yeah, about that. I'm all set. Thank you. I'm good. And the other way around, where you can just go, get there, and you're like, oh wow, the energy, the vibe, it matches up with what I was feeling on the phone, whatever, FaceTime, and something there. So why limit myself? But this is not what we're here for. We're here to talk about side piece. So go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying that when you're dating, unless you're saying that you're exclusive with this person, why
Right.
would you have backups and stuff like that?
I
That's-
know, exactly. You have to
'cause
be
if
clear
you're-
about that.
Yeah, you have to be clear, because if you're being exclusive with one person, then the person that's your second or third option is considered your side piece.
No, you're right. No, but you're right. But
Yeah.
but if I'm dating, I'm just dating. Like when when people are out there dating, that's why it always makes sense to find out, what are you out here for? Are you intentionally dating, or are you just seeing where things are going? Like that needs to be clear. So the person that you're talking to know what their options are, if they want to just invest all in you, or if they know that I can put a little bit of time in you and then I can, explore other options. But if you don't have that conversation at the beginning, then everybody's confused at the table.
Okay. What's your thoughts, Irene?
Yeah, I think it's important to be open and transparent and let whoever you're dating know what you want and make sure that they're in the same situation. So let's say if you're just dating, you could say, hey, listen, I'm just dating. I'm gonna be dating more than one person because I want to figure out what I really like, and you're okay to do that as well if you choose to. And it's important to have that conversation at the beginning. And of course, if things progress and if they get a little more, serious, and you're like, hey, listen, like you're the only person I want to date, then it's important to have, it's all about communication, and you have to find somebody who's on the same wavelength as you, because if that's not the case, then it's just going to be a misunderstanding. And then one person's going to think they're committed. The other person's like, what are you talking about? I have another date tonight. So I think it's
Right.
just to have just an open communication and be as transparent and honest, because at the end of the day, you're only going to be lying to yourself. So just be
Okay.
as honest as you can from the beginning.
All right. Now, in terms of side pieces, and I, do you guys know of any? Like you have friends or maybe acquaintances or even people that you know, but you're not. Do you know of any side pieces that they've admitted to other people or to yourself that, hey, yes, I'm a side piece and I'm fine with it?
I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. No, I don't know anybody who's like, yeah.
I know a couple of side pieces and they're fine with it. They're fine being a side piece. And I'm
And
like,
if that
oh,
works
okay.
for them, then that works for them. If the woman is like, listen, I like to get certain things, paid or done, and I'm okay with them coming around whenever, and it's okay for the guy, then
Now, what do you think there's a self-esteem issue in that sense?
Yeah, I think there's not a self-esteem issue. I think there's an insecurity issue.
Wouldn't that be also considered
A
self-esteem?
little bit, yeah, but I think it's an insecurity. Like, you know that you can get your own man. Why would you go after somebody else's man or woman? But
But they may have not. Okay, let's play,
devil's advocate.
advocate. Yeah, let's just say that I was, minding my own business like you were, Susie, and some dude just approached me, and I'm assuming that we're not necessarily being exclusive, but we're dating and we're just trying to get to know each other, and then you come to find out you're the side piece.
well, that's different. That's not being honest.
Right.
I don't know if I consider that the same.
But listen, but you come to find out that you're a side piece, but you still continue to stay there.
Well, then
Is
there's
that a self-esteem issue or what? What
I
do you
mean,
think?
it could be. I mean, you might be victimized.
Daddy issues, mommy issues, whatever.
Might be victimized. I mean, it might be.
I think every person has a different situation, and I don't always think that I don't think it's always a self-esteem issue, because there are a lot of women who may be very confident, strong, and know who they are, and
I
still
disagree.
care about being a side piece, because you know what, to them, that's called comfort. They
And
don't
again,
have a 24-hour relationship because they're like, you know what, it's too much work. I'd rather just have certain needs met and just do what I want because I'm just too busy.
okay, I disagree just because there's still that factor of having some type of either insecurity or self-esteem issues that you are not willing to face right now because
Well,
at the time you
Well,
just
I've heard, and I've heard where, there are women who they can take care of themselves. But
Mhm.
why do certain things for yourself when you can get a man who's willing to do it for you because you're a good looking woman, you're smart, whatever. So there are women out there who will get a man to pay for everything that she needs and then some. And Why is it that she's doing that? I've heard the story of she's dated for so long and she just doesn't get what she needs out of one guy. So there are women who it's almost like a career of being a side piece, where you have one guy that can handle this, one guy can handle that. This one, we go on vacations.
You know what, Susie? Men have been doing this for God knows how many years. Now
Exactly.
women are doing it as well. So
Yeah,
well, we're not
women have been
necessarily,
doing it for a long time too.
we're
It's
not necessarily just talking about women. Of course, we're
yeah,
talking
men
about
and women are
guys.
doing it.
Mhm.
But I think what it is, what we're seeing now, I feel like men have always won back in the day, but now, and I think both sides have won, but you just don't see it. It was more hidden back in the day. Now with social media and all that lovely stuff, it is more out there and it's celebrated more, right? For being the side piece or just be the chick that he wants to take away on the vacations to the Caribbean or whatever. And as long as the room has a balcony, we're gonna have a good time and stuff. And this also speaks to like some stories you'll hear is like, you know, the girl might not realize she's a side piece, or she knows she's a side piece, and the guy wants to take her on a trip, and she thinks she's going on a trip without giving up anything. And then she finds herself out at the airport, not be able to get home because she didn't put out. I'm like, ma'am, you knew that all that was on the table.
So
you know?
is that premature to think that if you're being taken on a trip and you're not going to give out, you will be staying there, a resident of wherever you at?
There's so many stories I've seen on Instagram and TikTok where a young female has talked to a dude and she's like, oh my God, he's such a nice guy. He wants to take me out to, let's say, Turks and Caicos. And they get to, there's one I saw maybe 2 months ago where she arrives at the airport, got to the hotel, the guy wanted her to put out. She did not want to put out. He canceled her flight because he paid for the whole thing. He canceled the ticket, dropped her off at the airport, figure out your own way out. That's why there's so much conversation about if you're going to do that, make sure you have your own money and you're prepared just in case you're not ready to, you know, deal with the circumstances. But at the same time, you should know what you're walking into. Like,
Well,
how you gonna go for? How you gonna? You're having a relate. You're talking to this dude, and you think that you're just gonna go and assume that it's just he's just gonna give it to you without putting out. Not saying that you should think that he's gonna put out, but at least have the conversation. So, thank you for paying all this stuff for me. What are you hoping to get in return? And that
Well,
speaks to
if
what
he's-
Irina says is, you know, you need transparency, you need communication, you need to open, like for you to think that, oh, this guy's paying for everything for me, and you never asked, what do you want in return, is crazy to me. Like you are setting yourself up for failure. That's the same thing in being a side chick or side piece. When you're upset that he's been lying to you, he's like, I'm gonna leave my wife, I'm gonna leave my wife. And then you turn around and they're having twins. Staying with the wife, and then you're upset. Like you can't be upset because you knew what you set yourself up for.
right.
And so, like you said, Sheila, insecurity, right? So there is a level of insecurity, even though she dresses nice, she looks good, she looked like she got her shit
Right.
together, and she got all these dudes doing this stuff. At the end of the day, who's the one by themselves on February 14th at home eating a box of chocolates that she bought for herself? She's not at dinner with her boo because her boo belongs to somebody else. All her boos belong to somebody else, or he has another side chick. So it's fucking,
has to
French, it's fucking around people's, it's your insecurity that's playing itself out.
Yes.
Instead of
So-
you managing that and actually changing and being clear and concise and asking, hey, what is it that we're doing? Are we okay with that?
But
And
some men or women are not able to, you know, be
Vocalize that.
expressive like that. They don't want to come out and say the truth, because if they say the truth, then that's what they're actually doing, and they don't want to be.
It's
They
like
don't
a-
want to admit to that, and which
Right.
blows my mind. I just don't understand. Like I have a situation where I know of a person that married, let's say, well over 15, 20 years, then come to find out, his her husband has a child, decided to have a child out of wedlock, out of the states, out of the country, and then pops up and said, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, this is what happened, blah blah blah. But the side piece knew that he was married, decided to keep the child, and uses that to exploit him so he can bring her to the country.
That's just pure manipulation and
Of course, but
started
some of
wrong.
the side pieces are doing that. But the thing, it's not only to be so close-minded to think that it's only in America. That's crazy.
Oh, no, it's all
Um,
over.
I think it's
I know that I
probably
know
happens more in other countries than
yes, but I know that looking at some of the shows that I've seen, like the reality shows, like 90 Day Fiance or such, or some shows from TLC and stuff, where there's a guy speaking to his older siblings or family members that are all women, and they said, yeah, we intentionally go out for those dudes that be able to provide because we need to survive. I think that's a side piece with a mission versus the side piece who just has an insecurity. You get what I'm saying? They want to have their family.
I think there's different things because there's some women that are like, I just need to be taken care of.
Right.
And there are some women that are insecure, don't want and don't know how to maybe have a guy just to be committed to them. And they're willing to bow down and take anything just so they could have that love and fulfillment or, that attention. So I think there's different scenarios. And I think the way that we as people need to address it is like each situation is different.
Yeah.
You can have a woman who is insecure and is in that situation. You can have a woman who, for instance, she travels like, every other week or every other, she doesn't have the time and commitment and
Right.
all the things that she can give to a relationship. So she just wants to, go to, I don't know, New York one weekend and she's like, okay, I'm glad that I get to meet up with somebody there. And then when she's back in Boston, for instance, and she has somebody here, and then she goes to Florida like next weekend, and depending on the situation. So every situation is so different. So you can't, it's like putting a blanket over, 3-4 different mattresses. You can't.
Okay. Now, can you be a side? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to bully you. Okay. But one question I wanted to ask is, can you be a side chick and religious?
Yep.
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
look, I think so.
You know what I think? I think of
Can't always mix religion with everything.
Right.
People may be spiritual and they consider that religious, and they may be like, yeah, well, I pray every night.
That's hilarious. I love it. I love it.
Correct? I don't know. Like, no, but do people do it? Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you think
supposed to? Yeah.
you think okay, let's go a little biblical here. How about Sarah? Right? You remember her husband? No, everybody knows Sarah from the Bible.
Are we talking about biblical Sarah?
Biblical? What are you talking about?
Biblical Sarah.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
We know Sarah. She got pregnant, right? She got pregnant. And but before she got pregnant, she sent her little friend and said, hey, guess what? I need you to go have a kid with Hagar because I can't wait on the Lord, blah, blah, blah. You just go get that. Right?
Okay.
Has a kid. Now the kid is being honored and being loved. And now there's some type of jealousy that happens with Sarah. And Sarah says, yo, I need to get pregnant now. So Sarah gets pregnant. Now Sarah's now trying to push Hagar out because her son, Hagar's son, Ishmael, is getting all the attention, all the love, although he is the first son. Sarah could not accept the fate that she set up a side piece situation for her husband. You get what I'm saying? So that's where I'm saying it's in the Bible where people had to be side pieces for a certain extent, and God allowed that to happen. But in this day and time, I think that some people are using side pieces just as a profession, and just using it as a term of, not even a term of endearment, but just a way of self-love per se. What do you guys think?
Self-love or a way of survival?
No, self-love for themselves, because they they can't really receive the love that they would like from another person. So it's, in order for me to love myself, I just need to do this in order to get this. Am I
Well, that's a very interesting way of thinking about that, just because if they are doing it for self-love, I'm not sure if that's something that you consider love. Like, is that really true self-love? If you're going to
That's what I'm asking.
belittle yourself and say, I'll settle for that.
But isn't that what a side chick is?
Well, you're saying for self-love. When I think of self-love, I don't think of that being self-love. Self-love is doing what's good for you and what's good for me personally. Self-love is somebody who's going to respect me and love me and be monogamous with me. To me, that is considered self-love. I personally won't settle for anything less than.
Right.
That's my interpretation of self-love. Somebody else's interpretation of self-love may mean something completely different. So who am I to judge somebody else, or who is somebody else to judge me? So I can't necessarily say that that person would do it to fulfill their needs. I mean, maybe, I don't know, but I think, again, like, it has to be very individual. It's really hard to, it's such a broad topic, and side checks could be such a broad topic. Like, yes, as soon as you think of it, you're like, oh, that's wrong. That's the first thing you think of. Oh, that's wrong. But there's so many different reasons to why. And if that person, like Sarah, she was like, I need you to go have a child because you need to have a kid. She almost looks like she did it for selfless reasons. She was being, selfless, and she was trying to meet the needs of her husband and having children. But then in return, look at how the story turned out. In return,
Right.
she hurt herself, hurt other people around her, including that of a child.
Where,
So if that's not to me, that's not self-love.
well,
As if you're hurting somebody else, or if you're feeling hurt, then you're not loving yourself. You're actually hurting yourself in the process. But as this happens and as this continues, that's not something we're consciously thinking of, because as humans, we're so trained to do what feels good right now. And we're not thinking of like, well, how is this going to make me feel in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? How is this going to affect anybody else? We're just thinking of like, right now, what makes sense.
right.
And we also run our emotions, run on our feelings. And at times, you met somebody and it's exciting and the emotions are hot and it's just kind of like working, and you're not taking a step back thinking. And I also always wonder, how many of these situations do you think to yourself prior to, if let's say the other person doesn't know, prior to saying to yourself, am I really going to get caught? A lot of them are probably thinking they're not going to get caught, so what's there to lose?
Right.
Until they get caught, and then they're like, okay, like, and then it's like damage control, and it's like working backwards. So again, communication has to be at 100%, and it works differently for everybody. And I can't be here to judge what works for one person and what works for the other. I can only state my opinion and how I would do things. But Suzanne, you may have a different opinion, and that's okay.
No, I agree with you. Like, you can't. Yeah, it's the individual. I agree with everything you said, Irina. It's every the self-care. It's you. I can't put that. It pertains to you and your needs and what you're looking for, and what I want and what I need is going to be different from the person to my left and to the person to my right.
So when I asked you about Sarah and Hagar, I said Sarah pushed her agenda, even though she was told by God that you will have a child, and she couldn't wait, so she pushed her own agenda to Hagar. Hagar had a kid. She didn't like how he was getting the attention, so she ended up having a kid so her child could get the same attention that Hagar's child had. Do you think, Susie, that was selfish of her?
Yeah, selfish, definitely. Knowing that the message was delivered to you that you will have a child. Patience, just wait for it. If that message came to you, it's already lined up for you. It's going to happen. Why would you alter your life events to speed that up? It just doesn't make sense. That's being selfish. It's almost being greedy. Like, I can't, being impatient, I can't wait. You know what I'm saying? So here you are.
It's also doubtful, like, you gotta think of it, how did she actually trust what the Lord told her? If
Right.
that's if somebody's telling you it's gonna happen, and you're doubting what your life path is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
But that just tells us that we as humans are naturally doubtful. We will doubt every situation, every scenario. So we want to believe, and I think we believe, and once we have to wait too long or things don't work out into what we believe is the right path or the right time frame, we tend to doubt, you know?
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you, ladies. I appreciate everything that you have said, and this has been a real enlightenment for myself and also for my listeners. So, we will be back next week.
Thanks for having me.
We will be back next week. I'm looking at you to be back next week sometime. Just to finish up on this topic, I want this to be a part 2, and I want to bring in some more individuals onto here, and hopefully some male individual, because some males are just too shy to get on camera, and I tell them that you don't have to have the camera on, but there will be a part 2 of this, and we can get both perspective of the male side. But yes, I want to say thank you very much for attending, Susie, Irina. This is Sheila Boo and Joseph, the Thick Chicks with a Thought. I appreciate your time, and I will see you on the flip side. Thank you.
Bye.